Sure, let me do that. It's 12:01 on March 6th, 2023, and I'll call to order the meeting of the Water Resource Protection Task Force for the purpose of hearing about these exciting new water meters and AMI infrastructure from Stiles. Can we just go around the table and do introductions so that everybody knows who's here? I'm Steve Gang, Chair and member of the Conservation Commission.
I'm Jeff Koshand, also a member.
Olga, Fred?
Yes.
That's Dr. Olga Hayes, who's a member of the Conservation Commission, the Parks and Rec, and Open Space and Recreation.
You guys want to introduce it? I'm Sue Croft, the Grants and Special Projects Coordinator for the town.
Dr. DPW. Tom Keogh, member of the task force.
John Round, member of the select board and also a member of the task force.
I'm Ian Kasowitz. I'm vice president, one of the owners of Stiles Company.
I'm Arthur Menezes. I'm a service rep for Stiles for this territory.
All right, and Ryan Johnson, the support training for Stiles and Badger Meter products.
Great, welcome everybody. Well, it might make most sense to turn the meeting over to the folks at Stiles, and we can hold our questions until we hear what you've got.
So,
Are you
Ian,
familiar
do you-
enough with our needs and the scope of things in Manchester?
Lowercase.
I got it.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull the Zoom in like, I think if he wants to explain the needs and kind of do your background again, it'd be awesome.
Maybe I'll take a stab at that real quick. So obviously, I've talked to these guys before, just so everybody else is aware. Basically, most of the, I guess, times that I've talked to them, it's been, well, we're still a year or two away from doing a full-on meter program in town, but things changed that quickly for sure. So I thought it'd be good to have you guys in to kind of show the latest and greatest. I'd say from the task force perspective, they're more interested in kind of the interface and the being able to do conservation and leak detection, those types of things, whatever bells and whistles you guys have. I think we've talked in the past about apps or just web-based kind of interaction with your meter is something that I think is kind of where everything goes, but especially in the water meter and especially with respect to conservation. So
3 months
people
later,
using too much water and not even knowing it until 3 months later, or they get the next bill.
Right.
That kind of stuff is, I think, more top of mind right now. But obviously, anything else you guys have, if you want to highlight, love to hear about it. That's perfect.
I just gave you permission, so you should be able to share your screen.
Awesome.
So do you know who Ian Kasowitz is?
That's the guy sitting
Oh,
right
sorry. Apologize.
You nailed it. Yeah, good job.
I have to pronounce the last name right. Absolutely nailed it. Now that I know who you are, Ian, sorry, I didn't see it, but I said.
He just needs to share his screen with us, so this is the easiest way to do it.
There we go. Perfect. So we have a whole presentation, kind of like what we did for you guys before, where we talk about Stiles, Badger, the meters, and again, the technology. I'm going to open it up, but we're not going to go through side by side. We'll kind of give some highlights of the meters, who we are at the meters, but then I really want to show you the system that we presented and that we're talking about, so you can see what it does for the utilities end, the town's end, and also for the homeowner and residents end. If that works for you guys.
Yep.
And Chuck, if anything, you're like, hey, don't worry about this meeting, just be like, move on.
Yep.
Yeah, get rid of people decide. We'll see that too. There you go.
It's not doing my job.
Awesome. So we'll run through this really quick. We'll go back through some introductions on what we're talking about. And then show you the actual system, you know, with the customer masters using it, what it does for them, what it can do for you, and what it does for your residents. So this is kind of a vision of the portfolio of what Badger Meter has to offer. We went through introductions. There's a little lag here. There you go. We went through introductions already. Again, this is Ryan. He's our tech support specialist. Arthur, he covers the territory, came from your side of the business, being Chuck and Nate. And myself, been with AMR, AMI specialist for styles for about 12 years now. So the company we represent is Badger Meter. I do want to highlight them really quickly, just because obviously we're the local vendor for Badger, where Styles have been here for 40 years, hope to be here for another 40 years, but end of the day, the product that we represent is called Badger Meter. Very fortunate to be a distributor for Badger. They're the #1 meter manufacturer in North America. Their focus of the company is in the water utility business. The percent of what they do. Very strong financial company. They're on the public stock market. I say that because you're gonna hear me talk about 20-year warranties. So you want to make sure that company behind that is going to be there for 20+ years. And at the bottom, I just want to highlight some acquisitions they've made in the past few years: ATI, SCAN, and Syrinix. They have this grand vision of being able to help monitor your full distribution system through the metering AMI system. And those two companies are water quality companies. So they actually have devices that you put out in your distribution system to measure water quality, chlorine, pH, nitrates, you name it, but you monitor it through the AMI metering system. And then Syrinix is their newest one, which is more of like pressure loggers, acoustic leak loggers, just kind of all encompassing your distribution system. So.
I know it's hopefully pounding, will not bother us. Sorry.
And just to give you a brief overview of Styles, like I said, we've been around since 1983. Our main focus as a waterworks distributor is also meter. We're not your typical supply house. We don't deal with pipes and hydrants. We really focus on meters and our metering customers. We acquired a company last year called Regan Supply and Testing, where we actually test source meters and large meter testing, third-party meter testing for small meters, just trying to help our customers from the full portfolio of their system. And when it comes to metering systems, I'll show you the software. We'll get into that very quickly, but it's super easy to navigate, very simple to use for the end user. End of the day, support is very important for any metering system, whether it's old technology, new technology. So we try to provide all support on a local level. You'll get the support from Badger, which is located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but we're nicer. We can come on site in a day's notice, not even. So we have 4 in-house support people, 3 certified tech people on the software end, and then Arthur helps in the field as well, just because of his background. We help, over the phone, remote sessions, and like I said, on site as well. So support's huge, and we like to kind of promote that we have it covered. So I'll talk about meters just for really brief. I won't get into the nitty-gritty on the meter itself, but they are, end of the day, super important to what you're doing. Technology is awesome, the software is great, the custom proposals are great, but they're only capable of the meter that's on. So if we put this brand new radio that we're promoting on a 1980 meter that's not accurate, doesn't have the bells and whistles or any alerts that you really want, and it only has 4 dial or 6 dial resolution, you're not gonna get the full benefit of the system. When it comes to meters, Badger, that's what they started as a meter manufacturer. They make a very good mechanical meter to this day. It's a Nutane disc, low lead bronze meter, largest chamber in industry, so it's less wear and tear over time. It's our workhorse, we call it. It's been in the field since 1972, and they still make it today. You can pass it out if you want. Not a huge deal, but it's oversized chambers, what makes it different from other meters that you may see out there. The big improvements, I guess you should say, that they've made to it is when it comes to the registers that go on top of the meter. Probably seen something like that in your basement. Traditional bronze mechanical meters. So the register that this gentleman here is holding, that's kind of what we've done to bring up that meter to these newer AMI 2023 systems. So a lot of customers still like the mechanical meters. You can rebuild them. If they freeze the front, simply bring a central meter, very affordable just to rebuild it. Meter itself is affordable and it's very accurate, it's very robust. But to kind of bring up the speed with these newer AMI systems to get you different alarms and features, they've added that to the register. So if we put that register that you're holding on that meter, you'll get a leak detection notification. So if there's a leak in someone's home, they'll send a notification through the register. You'll also get an Dakota removal alert. So if someone actually takes it off, fills a pool up, tries to steal some water, it's back on. It'll alert you of that. It has a little temperature alarm, so ambient temperature around that meter, around the register head. If it gets down to 39 degrees, you get an alarm back to the system. So just taking a few things that we're missing with mechanical meters and introduced it to it. They do make a mechanical register for as well. You just won't get the extra bells and whistles. Same price, same cost, just a couple more features. People happen to like mechanical, so we have both options. Thank you. I'm skipping ahead, but it's gonna take a little minute, I think, for it to catch up. And I can send this also, just so you can see, I have all the specs, the low flow capabilities. When you're looking at residential size meters, you worry about that low flow capability. When we'll start registering water, the lower the better, more revenue for the department, catch leaks sooner. Skip ahead. The other style meter, which we'll have right here, is called the ultrasonic meter. This one that you're looking at was Badger introduced ultrasonic in 2009 in North America. It's been used for probably 20 years before that overseas in Europe. It's growing in popularity right now, so it's important that we mention it. It's a full line of ultrasonic, so from 5/8, which is your residential sizes, up to 8-inch currently, and it'll go up to 12-inch hopefully by next year. The difference between the two meters that you're looking at is that has mechanical parts. This one does not. So it's using ultrasonic transit time technology to measure the water going through the meter. With that,
Sorry, I'm very naive about it.
Yeah.
So how does the bronze one measure water?
perfect. So that has a nutating disc inside it. So
What's nutating?
there's an actual chamber inside. Let me see, actually, picture I can show you if it goes
The
there.
chamber inside of it with the disc that mutates around an orb. So as that spins, as water goes.
Rotating.
It's kind of like a penny spinning on the table.
Exactly.
Okay,
So it separates the chamber into two different sections, so as one chamber is emptying, the other one is filling. So it's not
It measures the
rotating, it's
flux.
mutating, exactly. It counts the
Exactly,
spin.
so counts the nutations, it's made up word that they made up. So the
that's
water.
what I've never heard of.
Absolutely. So the water actually spins it, counts mutations. On top of it, you'll see on the bottom left picture, it actually moves a magnet,
Okay,
and then that's what gets
That's what
connected.
measures.
to it.
Okay.
So there's actually no wires between the register that's just on top and the bronze meter itself. It's just the magnet spinning, but the nutations, they were the wobbling of that disc. It knows exactly what the amount of water on one side is, and it transfers it to the other side.
a lot of iron manganese in our water. Would an ultrasonic be less likely to develop scale than a nutating?
That's a great question. Nutating disc with those chemicals has been okay. The knock to the nutating disc versus the ultrasonic is that it will slow down wear and tear over time with perfect water. It's gonna slow down, right? It's just mechanical, no matter what, it's gonna slow. But then you add debris into the water, particles or sand, if it's certain spots in town, then it could, once it gets, there is a screen if you look through it. But if anything gets through there, it could definitely slow it down even more.
Do you have a slide that has, hey, here are the pluses and the minuses for these two
Absolutely.
designs? Because I mean, we're sitting here and I'm not gonna speak for
So
Chuck
the
or,
biggest, when you look at the pluses, minuses and differences between the two, you're looking at the low flow accuracy. So which one's gonna measure a smaller amount of water? And you look at the lifespan, that the ultrasonic meter will hold its accuracy for 20 full years. Where we know for certain the mechanical meter is gonna hold it really well, but it's gonna slow down. So that's kind of one of the benefits. On the flip side, one of the negatives, just to make you guys have to think more, is that one is a throwaway compared to one can pretty much keep going and going and going.
Okay, so the bronze one can be rebuilt.
So the
Yes.
mechanical can be rebuilt. We've seen in this area all over the place, people leave Badger mechanical meters in the ground for 30, 40 years. They're most likely slow, doing a disservice to the department, but they're still relatively accurate. Where with the ultrasonic one, you know you're gonna have to replace that meter year 21. It really shouldn't be a knock. Some consider it a knock because, you know, the AWA, the state recommends you change a meter out every 20 years anyways in the system. But it's something that we definitely point out when, I guess it could be one of the false ultrasonic. The other benefit, I would say with mechanical, it's cost, it's gonna be a little less expensive than your ultrasonic meters,
How's the ultrasonic meter powered?
battery, and that's why the 20-year life. There's a 20-year battery in there, warranty for 20 years.
Not
The
replaceable.
ultrasonic.
You gotta-
Non-replaceable.
Right.
Everything that we're discussing today is completely submersible. You can literally flood a basement, put in a flooded meter pit. It will not damage or harm the meter. It'll just keep counting. You want the radio above water, but everything else will be okay. But because of that, there's no battery replaceable elements to our product.
And you said that the mechanical ones, this is the disc,
Yes.
they can be rebuilt.
Yes.
What's the differential, and which seems to be at about the same time point that you've got to replace the ultrasonic one? So what's
The
the,
parts are definitely more reasonable. You have to consider factor in also your time. So the time of the truck roll to go out there to pull the meter to rebuild it. So a lot of people, if you look at the whole picture, if it freezes, you can rebuild it on the site, but do you want to get into a full meter rebuild in 15 years? You probably don't. 20 years, you probably don't. You're probably better off replacing it if you add up all the small expenses.
the truck's still got to be out there to replace it, or it's a different, it's really just a plumbing.
Usually
Sure.
the rebuild comes when it freezes or when there's an issue with the meter or you don't trust the accuracy. In terms of like year 21, we're gonna do another project. You don't see towns going and rebuilding the couple thousand meters. At that point, they're replacing with just a new meter. But between then, the first year it's in and 20 years, they'll definitely rebuild it as they break or as there's debris in it, stops moving because this something happened to it or freezes. That's where they'll rebuild it.
Do you
The
guys
ones and twos.
currently rebuild now? Okay.
Most towns are going away from rebuild.
So yeah, the cost to rebuild a meter, when you look at all of it,
Yeah, all in.
is more, typically more than what it would cost to do replacement. We can give you guys references of people who have done studies on site, and that's what they find. So it's usually a non-topic once the number comes out.
What I'll do is send you a simple breakdown, pluses and minuses of both meters, as you can see,
Yeah, we
you know,
need that.
what you lose, what you gain, that sort of thing.
So the rebuild is that's a high skill level deal. You guys have to do that.
No, you can do them in-house.
Is that right?
Yeah, our guys are, they have done it in the past, but it's not something we typically do.
Doing one of meter freezes, meter bases, so with that, what you're looking at with the brass, that's just a meter base. That is relatively inexpensive, so at this point, this day and age, if it does freeze, sometimes we'll definitely replace the chamber, $20, replace the chamber, put it back out there. But then in terms of like a full, hey, we're gonna go rebuild 1,000 of these, at that point, they'll just put a new base.
When you say freeze, where are these meters sitting? Are they sitting outside the house or in the
In
basement?
Most
basements, but you do have people that, you know, the heat goes out, or the customer browse, and we had that cold snap a few weeks ago. I think they replaced about 30 of them. They have a lot of houses that are on pillars and stuff, and the insulation's not great, so the numbers are probably a little higher,
Traveling,
but
forget
it definitely happens. Yeah, I was in.
We've definitely had further lines in town too, where just something happens and
Yeah.
it freezes.
And then this slide does compare the local accuracy. That's kind of where most people look. The nice part with what we're talking about, and obviously we'll get into the weeds of meters and what's best for the system, is you can mix and match. So mechanical to us, we have a very good mechanical meter, so we never, you know, some people come in here and say, only ultrasonic, only ultrasonic. We just have such a very good 5-base mechanical meter that's hard for us to be like, this is so much better. Because there are benefits, but they're both very good meters. The nice part is you can mix and match. So if you have certain areas of town that have that buildup of manganese or what it could be, or you have tough areas with sand in the water in certain areas of town, you might want to put ultrasonic in those sections. When it gets to larger sizes of meters, the low flow is so much better. The price is almost even out. So there are benefits to both, but I want to show you, the low flow capability is that ultrasonic being able to pick up the 0.08 versus the 0.5 will create more revenue, will pay for the system, will pay for the meter. Potentially on the larger sizes, definitely, right? If you have an old 3-inch turbo meter that's not registering until 2.5 or 5 gallons per minute, and you replace it with an ultrasonic meter, you're going to capture, less than a gallon per minute. It's going to get more revenue for you, and you'll actually pay for that meter very quickly under return on investment.
Did you have clients that mix and match?
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially for sizes, some blanket, we're gonna do all 5/8 disc mechanical, everything above size wise, it'll be ultrasonic. Or we
Okay,
have some that go to that, like I just said the story where, hey, I have this bad area of town right here, I'm always rebuilding the chambers. I want to stop rebuilding chambers, I'll put an ultrasonic just in that section.
majority of your clients do that or just a few?
A lot. Now, recently, our newest clients, I can tell you that most are going to ultrasonic. They have.
Can I interrupt for
100%.
1 sec?
Absolutely.
Thanks. I'm getting a lot of dropouts in the audio on my end. Is that just me or Francie or Jeff or others experiencing it over Zoom?
Yes, it's happening with me also.
I'm okay.
Okay, well, it sounds like the town's connection might be a little flaky at the moment.
That's what I think
The
also.
gist of it. So thank you. The other thing is that somebody has their hand up. RSM.
Yeah, sorry, Ron Master Giacomo. Just a question on the installation of the meter. Is there a minimum straight runs you need on either side of the meter? And is that an issue with installing these?
So great question. So ultrasonic does have requirements for the large meters. It's 5 times the diameter of the pipe. So if it's a 3-inch meter, you're gonna need 15 inches of straight pipe before and after the meter. The great part about ultrasonic is you don't necessarily need to put a strainer in line because there's nothing that can clog the meter. So a lot of times towns will just pull out the strainer, give them a little bit extra, but yep, it's 3 times or 5 times the diameter of the pipe. It's residential meters. You don't see a need for anything, you know, you can just install them as they are. There's always enough room to do that.
Are they installed
Some
inside the house?
large
or
meters
outside?
may have to be replumbed, but typically it's not common.
Go ahead, Ron.
Are they inside the house or outside the house when they're installed?
It would be inside the house. There are, I don't know if you guys have any pit installations, but there are cases where a large meter or meter would be in a pit. So, yep.
Places like that.
All over
A lot.
Yeah, we have, there's.
Are your AMI, are your transponders inside or outside?
Usually they're outside.
They're outside.
We do have some.
Yeah.
Ones that, you know, manual.
So you're always gonna benefit by putting the transponder outside. It's easier for the town to get in and change it later. You don't have to make an appointment. You can walk up and just swap it out.
And going back to what we were talking about before in terms of what, you know, towns are choosing these days, they're having us get proposals that go. Look at the cost of each, I would say majority recently are going with the ultrasonic. A lot of legacy customers are sticking with mechanical for the smaller ones, ultrasonic for larger ones.
When you say larger, are you saying like above 5/8? Are you saying like 3 inches the cutoff for a
Inch
large?
and a half or.
Usually inch and a half and larger. I would sometimes start at 1 inch.
Yeah.
So just some more benefits with the ultrasonic meters. There are no moving parts. They're much more forgiving with installation. Not that you probably have a problem here. The low flow capability is better, 20-year warranty on the accuracy, a full warranty, which is great. And they are approved just because we've had them in the field now for 15 years in the Northeast in New England.
So is your standard the brass or the?
That's a great question.
Which way?
Plastic, just the cost is, yeah, a lot cheaper. The cost will be about $15 more than mechanical meter for the poly and like $45-50 more for the bronze.
On the plastic, are you seeing those break more because they're plastic or?
No, we'll definitely.
Pressure rating.
Well, more just like,
When they're
the
installation.
horror stories I hear, we don't have any, but,
Yeah.
you know, they're, you know, people over tightened,
Sure.
you know, and they crack out.
We've done, we just finished up a big town that was 14,000 meters and they had an installation company do it and we probably saw a handful of them out of 14,000. And that was a third-party company. It wasn't the town doing the install, so.
Usually when the
Pick it up.
towns guys and girls do it, we don't see any issues. It's like this particular one, I think we took back 30 out of the installations, because
$15,000.
they hire techs that never touched a water meter before.
Yeah.
It's definitely different, it's definitely have to be a little,
Yeah.
we recommend if you're doing a construction meter in and out, use the metal one. If it's a hard to reach area and you gotta jam it in there, use a metal one. But that's the nice part too, you could mix and match for.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment about that compared to one of our competitors is you'll notice the neck on that just beyond the threads is very robust. I mean, it's solid. I've seen some of our competitors where they actually just have a cover over that and inside the plastic is actually fairly thin. And I've shown up and they've spun it too much. They didn't break the threads. They actually snapped the meter apart. That's not something you're typically going to see with that because it's a lot heavier casting of the.
And Badger has also recessed the threads on the end pieces,
Oh, right.
about a 1/16 of an inch. They don't go right to the very edge of the meter. So I feel like that helps you walk the meter nut on and get it lined up a little bit better too.
Absolutely.
Some benefits that Badger's adding to these meters, just because they've had them out for so long now, 2009 is when they first introduced it. The sampling rate is a big term you'll hear with ultrasonic technology. How fast is it sampling the water? How often? Originally it was once per second, now it's 4 times per second, so it's the fastest on the market. For larger size ultrasonics are introducing different pressure sensors and water temperature sensors to the meter itself. So it comes standard 3-inch and above, and it'll be an option on the smaller sizes. We'll actually measure PSI coming into the house or into the building, which is really cool. Help you detect leaks, not just after the meter, but also what's happening in the distribution system. And being able to measure temperature of the water also will help you detect different abnormalities within the system.
Is that like an algorithm that you guys have on the back end of your, or on your side?
Yeah.
So we get an alert, like.
Exactly.
It's not like we're running, some sort of script to say, okay. we need that.
That's what you'll see is it kind of comes out of the box for any of those meters that have it. They assign their own alerts to it when it reaches pressure's this low, pressure's this high, send an alert. You guys can always change that threshold,
Right.
And change it around.
Yeah, there's a default, so you can just plug and play and walk away, and it's like an industry standard, but then you can make adjustments. So, a lot of people just leave it, if the industry standard setting is pretty good.
And I'll show you where it comes to on the software, where it brings that information to you, so you don't have to go looking for it necessarily. We don't have to go over all the specs and. But I will put together kind of a one-sheeter, differences, pluses, minuses of both.
This shows you were asking about the pluses and minuses. This shows compound next to an ultrasonic 3-inch, shows low flows and high flows. If you look at the extended low flows, it shows the differences for what they can calculate.
These numbers are fairly similar. These pretty much interchangeable for residential application.
The smaller the meter, the lower the water will detect. So anytime you increase the size of the meter, it's not going to pick up the very low flow. So that's why proper sizing is important to a building. If you get a big industrial complex, I just had a customer request a 4-inch meter for a UPS facility that was going in because they had a 4-inch line going in. Comes to find out they had 2 bathrooms and a kitchenette. They had a 1-inch meter put in and they have more than enough water. So if they put the 4-inch meter in, they probably wouldn't have picked up that very low flow when they flush the toilet. So you just want to make sure sizing's proper too. That's a big part of it. You guys don't have a ton of commercial though, right?
Yeah, I see the sizing, but disc versus ultrasonic, both of them operate in ranges that are
Oh, yeah.
appropriate.
Absolutely, yeah, AWWA.
So that's not a factor in terms of decision.
No, the only time it was a factor is for the larger sizes. It used to be what's called a compound and a turbo meter. One was strictly high flow, one was for both low flow and high flow.
Yeah.
Ultrasonic replaces that. Takes the question out of it. Hey, we have a 2-inch building going in. A lot of towns now just say put an ultrasonic because they'll cover low to high.
Yeah,
Eliminate all
yeah, on
questions.
the other side of the question is the ultrasonics like that. If you look right there, the 5/8 one can go up to 30. That could cover one that you were using a larger meter on of 3/4 inch meter. So you might maybe reduce your inventory down or be okay with putting a smaller meter in because it has a higher flow range too, so.
And both types will measure all of the various variables that you're talking about, not only flow, but temperature, pressure, all of these
Great
things,
question.
both of them,
That was a great question.
all of them do.
The
Both of them.
ultrasonics will have what the mechanical does not have. The ultrasonic will have the pressure in some of them, the water temperature in some of them. So the mechanical has the ambient temperature, catch a freeze up before it happens, but it doesn't measure the actual temperature of the water, where the ultrasonic will do both. And then the other one, alarm, it has ultrasonic has an empty pipe alarm. So if you actually take the full meter out, they'll have an empty pipe alarm. where
I'm not sure of the
mechanical-
significance of that, Chuck. You would know.
Yeah, I mean. We're probably not.
No, no, I think if you're talking like
We're measuring
tamper
the
proof,
water,
I guess your ultrasonic is more tamper proof. If you think
Mhm.
there's an issue in this town with people tampering, that's, you know, one unit, you can't take off the register.
I don't think our problem is people jumping the meter. That way.
Right, that's kind of what I was getting at. I don't think so.
Okay.
We have problems, but those aren't. that.
Hey, just,
You guys do, I think I asked this last time, shut offs for bill payer.
Uh,
Just- just in terms of time, at what point are you gonna switch over to the infrastructure?
Right now,
Great.
I like it. So that was a wrap up for the meter. It is important. I usually even go quicker than that because I know we're here today mostly for the software and the system itself, but the meters, end of the day, are important as well. And we're fortunate Badger makes some good ones. So talking about technology, you guys are drive-by currently.
Yeah.
Probably a couple touch stragglers maybe, but mostly drive-by. That was developed in the 90s, very good technology. It was a way to accurately, efficiently collect a meter read and get a bill out. After that became fixed networks, and now today we're even talking about the technology that came after fixed networks is kind of an infrastructure-free fixed network where the reads are going to come right back to the office without having to drive around. The radio family is called Orion. That's what we'll refer to as our family of radios. Badger introduced the Orion radio in 2002. The one thing I like to highlight, or a couple of things I like to highlight, is the reliability of it, less than 0.5% failure rate on those endpoints. A lot of that is because of the potting. I don't know if you passed around the radio yet, but we talked about field replaceable batteries. These are not. You can see it kind of teases you, but there's this potting material that makes it completely submersible. And we think that's why that's such a low failure rate with them. Backwards forwards compatibility is huge. So the system that we're presenting is called Beacon. That's what the software itself, the system is called. Once you have Beacon in place, it can read our oldest drive-by technology, our old fixed network technology, and our newest fixed network technology. So it's kind of encompasses everything. So you can feel comfortable that if we put Beacon in today, use it for a system, and in 5, 10, 20 years, we want to upgrade to something else, Beacon's gonna be able to handle that other technology. So we don't leave any assets stranded. You can read the oldest Orion in the system and all the new stuff. So forwards and backwards compatibility is super important. You don't have to ever abandon a system, especially assets in the field. Then we get in trouble. And compatibility, our radio that we're talking about is compatible to your existing meters also. So if you do have newer meters in the system, they're probably accurate, no need to replace them and waste the money. You can actually, they're 100% compatible with that radio system.
How does that work?
So you can go right to the terminal screws, or if the wire's coming out, as long as 3 wires, we can just splice it. Since this is red to red, green to green, black to black, it's actually the same. This is more of our drive-by system, which we're going to talk about today. So I'll show this really quickly. I think you guys are looking at going to AMI, not repeating another drive-by system. When towns start to have these conversations, we like to kind of talk about it in this way. AMR, which is drive-by, is reactive. So you guys drive by, get a read, send a bill out, homeowner calls because the bill is high. You can react, you can go back, test the meter, try to get some profile and see what happened. AMI, where the reads come right back to the office, they include a customer portal. You're being proactive now. You're getting that live leak alert. There's high usage at this location. You're getting it, the customer's getting it. You're being a lot more proactive. Yeah. So traditional fixed networks, the AMI technology that we're talking about, historically, you would have to hang up gateways and build a network out in town. So you'd actually have to put up poles if you don't have a high spot, put gateways around your town, and that radio in the basement or outside in the meter pit will communicate to that gateway or that antenna and backhaul to the office so the people in the office can open it up and see what's happening. That was kind of the way we did it, late 90s into 2000s. Never really took off in New England. You won't see a ton of towns who used it because the topography is just crazy. It's really made for a big city where you have a lot of meters in one little area with a high point. Very cost effective, very efficient way to do it. We just don't have that luxury, especially in this area of the state. It's also a large upfront expense because you have to not just buy the meters, not just buy the radios, but you have to buy the whole network. Usually that's not what town's skill set is. You need a big IT department. Like I said, topography, requires not just 1 or 2 gateways, all of a sudden you need like 5, 6, or 7 for a small town. So what Badger did back in 2014, so again, it's been like 7 years now, is they came out with the first infrastructure free fixed network. They have what's called an Orion cellular endpoint, so it's that radio at the end of the table right there, and it's actually going to communicate directly to the existing infrastructure of the cellular network. It's communicating off of what they call a machine network, not a consumer network, which we use for our phones. But it's going to call in, we call it calling in 4 times a day during the week with all the data off of the meter. So any meter read, obviously, any leak alert, any temperature alert, all those alerts we just talked about, send the information into the cloud-based software system called Beacon. And it'll also have a component called Ion Water, which is a customer portal. So the technology they're using, it's not just your standard cellular technology like we're used to with our phones. That's called the consumer network. This is using what's called the LTE-M. The M stands for machine. Basically, in 2017, there became so many of these little machine devices. So,
Is a question.
oh, question?
Did you just say 4 times a day it sends back information?
Yeah, so it collects 15-minute interval data in the radio itself. It transmits it to the system 4 times per day.
So if I had a leak, I wouldn't know it until 6 PM if the leak happened at 1 PM, let's say.
Yes, that's a great question. For right now, what we're talking about, yes, that's how it works. Badger is, and they've been working on it soon. I was hoping it was gonna be released this last week, where it's gonna have these off-peak alerts, they call it. So for catastrophic alerts, which would qualify as a leak, it will call in top of the hour. Right now, I don't wanna, I don't know when it's gonna be released, but that will be part of the system. Right now, it's 4 times a day.
And that would be for like a big leak, like something substantial, a hose was left on full blast or something. If you're picking up a toilet leak, typically. Calling in, it notifies, it decides it's a leak when you use water once an hour for 24 hours straight. So if the toilet is refilling every 15 minutes. For 24 hours straight, then it flags it as a leak and it'll send the customer, if the customer signed up, a notification, a text message saying you have an 1/8 of a gallon a minute leaking, and the utility will be able to tell also. So that's
Okay.
how it does it now.
And
That
the
makes
reason
sense.
is-
One other question I have, Chuck or whoever else, do we have 100% cell coverage to all our customers? Or do we have dead zones still in Manchester?
I'll get into that.
We
right now.
definitely have dead zones, but yeah, I don't know about.
That's a great question. I'm actually getting to that now. And just to go back to your other question also, the reason it's 4 times set like that currently is all for battery life. They want this truly to last 20 years, so that's why they've said it. They know exactly how long that battery will last if we have it calling 4 times per day. But we are excited for the off-peak alerts. So getting into your second question, we did do what's called the cellular coverage analysis. So keep in mind, because we're using a machine network, it doesn't operate the exact same as our phones. Sometimes you send a text message, but you can't make a phone call. We need minimal data like that. So what we did, and I should have put it into the slide, but I didn't, we took the addresses of your meter location, sent it to the carriers, and they came back and said, all right, here's how it looks. So we'll show you really quick. The study we did, that's kind of your town with every geocoded, every single address location. We have 2 carriers that we work with. The primary carrier is the AT&T machine network, and the secondary carrier, it's really just second carrier, not secondary. There's no difference, is the Verizon machine network. So usually between the 2, we've had good success in New England. Here's how the coverage came out. The purple that you see is strong AT&T coverage. The blue, especially the dark blue, is sufficient AT&T coverage. When it starts to get a lighter blue or a cayenne, that's obviously the ocean. It's when we'll start looking at, okay, is Verizon stronger here, AT&T stronger here? Where you see the green triangles, it's hard to see from here. Those are all require the Verizon one. Everything else could be the AT&T one. So as of right now, the preliminary results show that you have 100% coverage. 71% AT&T, 29% Verizon. The next step we do is, if you want us to, is we actually do a drive test. It's called a field analysis. We have this device, mimics an endpoint, and we drive all the streets where we see mostly the blue and the green triangles. Because what we want to be able to do is, if someone goes to our system, we provide an Excel spreadsheet with address by address what endpoints required for optimal coverage. So it's same cost endpoint, the endpoints operate the exact same way. One just goes to the Verizon machine network, one just goes to AT&T. So between the two, as of right now, before we do the field analysis, there is 100% coverage.
So there's no non-cell backup, basically.
So all of them have a mobile backup. There's not a fixed network backup where we can just put in a cell antenna or a booster yet. I don't see why we can't do a booster eventually, but they do have a mobile backup feature. So every 40 seconds, that radio is actually shooting a drive-by signal. So you can always, you don't want to wait for the 4 hours or cell towers being hurricane, whatever went down for a couple hours, and it's going to get picked back up. You want a live meter read, you can drive by it and get a drive-by read without needing access.
Thank you.
But it's important to us, the coverage, because that's the health of the system. We'll show you the demo of someone using it. We want to be able to open up everyone's system and show 99, 98, 100% coverage. So if we're putting this in places where it's not going to work, it doesn't make any sense for us or for you guys.
We don't want that to happen.
We have seen, Ocean, we've had experience now since 2014 with this, and ocean communities definitely are tougher. Orleans is 100% coverage, but we kind of learned it the hard way. You don't have that redundancy of cell phone towers on all sides because you lose it with the ocean, obviously. We've done one town where we had to do 800 drive-bys just in one peninsula, the rest was cellular. Here, that wasn't the case. As of right now, everything has coverage, but if we go a step further, perform that drive test, we'll get back to you with kind of more detailed results. But that was good time to show that. And I'm gonna just breeze through this now so we can show you what the actual software looks like. The endpoint itself is really quick to harp on that. It does provide 15-minute interval information. I'll show you what it looks like in the software. It's very powerful. There's a 20-year, now when we talk about warranties, it's a prorated warranty. The industry standard on technology, it's 20 years, 10 full, 10 prorated. Kind of how it is across the board. But it does have a 20-year warranty on the radio itself and the network. So the network, let's say year 9, that network that we're raving about changed, tweaked a little bit. It's on Badger to get it to working. So it's kind of the only system out there right now with fixed network that covers both the radio and the network itself. We talked about how it calls in 4 times a day. One thing that's nice on the utility end is you can choose 3 of those call-in times. So obviously it's a huge tool for customer service. You pick what time your day starts. If you usually get a lot of calls at noon time, you have them all calling right before noon. You think there'll be another influx of calls towards the end of the day, have a call in right before the end of the day. It just gives you the most up-to-date information. So when you start getting customer calls and customer service calls. We won't worry about how to activate them. That's something we can do later. In terms of the network, we kind of discussed it, how it's a little different than our normal consumer network. But we want to just give you a little peace of mind that the network's going to be here for a long time. The cellular industry is governed by this 3GPP organization. And the point of that governing body is that you can't just abandon a network. So this was not around for 3G. It was developed after 3G, which is, a lot of companies, a lot of people got burnt by the whole 3G shutdown. If this body was there, they would have said, hey, you can't shut it down yet. You have to do it the right way. So it's a kind of peace of mind that carriers can't just run wild and shut off networks and do whatever they want. The network longevity history track record is very good for cell carriers. 2G was around for 30 plus years. 3G was around for 23, 24 years. If you look at any media manufacturers, fixed networks, they usually abandon or change technology after 8 years. So we're much better off with the cell phone carriers taking care of the network than we are with the media manufacturers. And then this is the biggest one, is just how, when we first started selling this in 2014, it was a 3G device. So it worked just the same way our cell phones worked. It's the machine-to-machine technology that we talk about is 3 billion devices out in the world. They're used in shipping, manufacturing, healthcare. Vending machines is the big example I give. People on vending machines, they can see when you need more Diet Coke, and they can monitor it from states away because it's a little cell device in there. The industry just blew up for carriers. So back in 2017, they said we have to separate the networks, kind of. So we have these cell towers out there. The consumer network is always going to have to be updated. Go 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, 7G to keep up with download speed and streaming speed. The machine network, these little devices don't care about that. They want to be here for 20, 30 years. So they kind of separate those networks. Consumer network, like I said, you'll see that evolve and you see it change, while the machine network will stay steady.
Our data packet is the equivalent to a text message when we send it out, so it's very minimal.
And then you stole my thunder there, no, not you, on TV, system redundancy. It does, redundancy is huge with fixed networks. You want redundancy. You're gonna have built-in redundancy just because cell phone towers and our endpoints can usually go like up to 5 miles away. So if a cell tower does go down, hopefully there's one within range. But the mobile backup's pretty important too. It's kind of a peace of mind that if something does happen, we have to go read our meters, you can always drive by and get it. And the radio itself stores 42 days of data, so typically you're not worried about getting something back in a hurricane or natural disaster comes through town. The cell carrier, that's the best part, is that you guys go on with your jobs, getting clean water to your residents. The cell company will come in here and start getting the network back up. If it was your own traditional fixed network where you put up your own gateways, you're responsible for getting those gateways hung and figuring that mess. This is all done for you, but the endpoint itself serves 42 days. So once it's back online, they'll backfill all that data and all the history. So we call it like a fixed network made easy. The nice thing with our system is you don't have to do a full change out. You don't have to invest a ton of money into infrastructure. You can literally start. We have a failing MXU today. We can put one cell radio in and get the benefits 6 hours later. So it's a really simple system to deploy. And it's also good for a hybrid approach. Not that you have a lot of large users, but if you did, you can just, hey, let's go AMI first with the large ones or the hard to reach ones. Everyone else will kind of stay drive by for a little longer and slowly migrate. It does give you that flexibility. We just talked about the reliability and the robustness of the networks. I'll have to go through that. And more than just a meter read, probably not the time to talk about this, but I can send all the information in terms of water quality and what they're doing with the water pressure, obviously. But water quality too is really cool. Everything they can kind of start detecting within the distribution system. The treatment guys, Chuck and Nate, can talk circles around me about it. But if something that interests you is built right into the system, it runs right through the same software. So it's really a unique offering that we're offering.
So it must be another sensor somewhere.
It is. So these are the two that pipe scan through SCAN and Metronet through ATI. They're you put them throughout the distribution system.
MWRA has been using these for a long time.
So they're distribution, not in a.
You can put them in the treatment plant itself, but really the benefit I think you get from the system is when you put them out into distribution.
If you're
Yeah, for sure.
far into town that you haven't.
But it's not like you're selling it.
No, they're not built into meters yet.
Not yet.
These are options.
These are options,
Yeah.
add-ons that the system provides, and it's through Badger Meter School, no third parties.
Yeah.
Are they direct bearing?
Could you show us an example of the consumer portal?
Go on the pipe.
I'm not direct buried.
So it goes in like a meter manhole essentially. Meter hole, yeah.
Can you guys show us an example of the consumer portal, please?
Let's just hop right into the software. We'll show you a customer using it and we'll show you the portal. So our software is called Beacon AMA, beaconama.net is the website. It's a cloud-based software. So what will happen is one person will gain access, but from there on the utility end, on the town's end, you can invite whoever you want from the utility end to have access to the software. You guys all have your unique sign-in and be able to log in and see what's going on. You can even have different levels of access, so you can give it to the whole board to be able to see the utility view, or let them just view it and not touch it or change it, sort of thing. So these are all the customers at Styles Company that use this platform. We have this site because it's for our support guys. So when someone calls, we can go right to the town and open it up and see exactly what they're seeing. But I kind of like just to go through it to show you that it's a proven built out system. And these are all New England customers. Because of security these days, we're not supposed to show you real customers. We have a demo site. It's garbage, so I show you a real customer. I got their permission. This is the town of Lexington, Massachusetts. This is actually live meter reading right now in Lexington. It's exactly what the software looks like. A little hard to see from here, but it's what you'll see when you open up your software as many times as you want per day. The software is built for whether you have 10 customers or hundreds of thousands of customers. The system is good for both. You'll see this flow health section. And again, this is the utility end. I'll show you in a minute, the customer portal end. But this is the flow health section. This will be your no recent flows, backflows, which is reverse flow, leaks, which is the big one, and continuous flow. The way we determine a leak, or the system determines a leak, is constant usage through a meter every hour for 24 hours straight. They think there should be 1 hour with no usage, and that will clear the leak alarm. If you have places in town that actually use water 24 hours straight intentionally, you can mark it as a continuous flow customer and not on your leak list. I'll go right back to that one, but want to show you the rest of the page. This is what we call the dashboard. You know, gives you an overview, a quick overview of everything. Once you see this little gray arrow pointing and the mouse kind of turns to a hand, it means you can click on it and see detailed about that specific event. So if I wanted to, I click on this, see detailed 358 leaks. So it's really just a snapshot of what your system's happening, and you choose what you want to hone in on. Communication health, this one, it's going to vary throughout the day and throughout the week, obviously. It's once it hits 3 days of not calling in, it'll pop up that list. And that's what we're talking about with cell phone coverage. We want to keep that list really healthy.
And I think you said the meters themselves hold 40 days of data. Is that right?
The radio does.
The radio does. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So if it doesn't connect to the network for 2 or 3 days, cuts back on, it'll backfill all that data. It'll have a good billing read that you can build off of, see what the issues were, see what was happening. Billing reads, this is really for the billing clerk, but we build an interface to Munis. And it's 3 clicks of a mouse. Oh, even much better. To Continental, you will build an interface to Kuzi. And then when time of billing, use this every day. The current software for meter reading, I'm assuming they use 4 times a year for billing purposes, and that's probably it. This one, open as many times as you can. When you're ready to bill, you can say get billing read and shoots a file out into Kuzi, into Continental. It has just system water usage, 7 days versus the last 7 days. Device health, these would be your low temperature alerts, cut wire tampers, someone took off the register, someone took out the meter. That's where all device health will come. It doesn't mean there's any like actual damage to the product. It means we just want to see what's happening.
When you say sorry, step back, but that open as many times as you want to get the billing file, whatever. So like going from quarterly to monthly is like
nothing. It's always scary to the billing person. They're like, oh no, I'm gonna do this process more than 4 times a year. But once they see the system and the way it's actually operating, it's super easy. It's as easy as get billing read. You click this last import and click this get billing read, and it writes a file out. That's it. So it is a really simple process, especially if they're all 100% built out. The system's built out. Top accounts by usage, it organizes it for you. Top 25 accounts. Nice part is it's gonna, after you have it in for a little bit, it's really your same 25 always. But if 20 jumps up to number 2, there'll be an arrow here and it'll tell you, there's probably an issue, so you can actually call that customer and hey, something's happening. System water temperature, we talked about it. These are only for the meters that have it. So we have one right now in Lexington, I should call them, that has a high risk of freezing. They can click on this arrow and see what that one customer is. And here's the pressure. These were all out of the box. I doubt they've changed the thresholds. 3 low pressure, 3 high pressure, and they can click on those and see what's happening with it. Favorites, you choose your favorites. Tech support, that gets you to Milwaukee. Call us instead. And what's coming, what's new. Really quick, I want to show you a leak, and this will kind of bring us right into the customer portal. So I did my homework and just checked out. I want to get a good example of a leak for you. There's 358 of them. But anyone who has access, I don't know if you guys take the customer service calls or if it's Sue, whoever it is, they call in and say, I have a question about what I'm seeing on my usage. Can you help me walk through it? You can search in this search bar, their name, their address, their meter number, it doesn't really matter. So I picked up this person, hopefully no one knows them. If we click this plus sign right here, it'll bring me to their, what we call an account card. So I can see their location. I can see their meter. It's a 5/8 E-series. They use the ultrasonic residential meter. Click reads. This will show me what their read is. If I'm looking at the meter right now, it's 3 hours old. So this read is 3 hours old, not too bad. If you do closings or need final readings, you can just open it up and get it. Endpoint, that's what we call a radio device or MXU. It'll tell you my signal strength is good, battery life is good. If for some reason battery life prematurely was draining and went to red, it'll pop up on that first page. So it'll bring these alerts and activities to you. But let's go up, we can view the map as like a graphical way, so this yellow dot is where the meter is, it tells me there's a small leak. You can, or you can look at a graph, usually graph is how we like to look at it. So right now, this is daily in March, up until today, what they used every day. If I go to here, click hour. This is today, right, Monday, shows me every hour from 12 AM up until when it called in last. So let's go back with this arrow and go back to yesterday. So you see how there's blue in every hour of the day? This is a snapshot of yesterday, Sunday, at this customer's house. System wants to see one of these arrows without any blue. This is why we think there's a leak. 12 in the morning, 0.34 cubic feet went through. At 1 in the morning, 0.17 cubic feet went through. You guys cubic feet?
We are now, yep.
Were you gallons?
No, we're not.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
That's it.
not yet.
We put gallons on the bills now.
Okay, all right, so I'll remember that. If you wanted to, you can click more options here and change it to gallons if you guys were gallons, but we'll leave it at cubic feet. The nice part, and you'll see when we get to the portal, we usually leave that in gallons. Because the customer can understand a gallon of milk, not a cubic foot of milk.
That's why we did
Yeah.
it.
But you can definitely switch back and forth.
Let's come up with the last 5
Yeah.
meetings probably.
And so I'll show you what that looks like. Just, it's easier. It's a nice presentation to the customer. We talk in gallons. But they can also go back and toggle back and forth. So you'll see, they had a small leak, 0.17. It didn't go below 0.17 cubic feet in an hour the whole day. They probably have a running toilet or something. If you wanted to, you click on this minute button. Overkill, but you can see every 15 minutes what's going on. Didn't get below 0.04 cubic feet in 15 minutes. They have a slow trickle nonstop. This person, because it's a small leak, 1.2 gallons per hour is a small leak. Lexington has 14,000 customers. I'm assuming they're not calling this customer, let them know. So hopefully this person does have a portal. I'll show what that looks like. With this information, you guys can print it out, PDF, email. You have this actions button, new export. You can get everything in Excel spreadsheet. So if there's like abatements or people come into town meetings and complaining about their bills, you can build a whole case pretty much and show them absolutely everything. But the biggest thing you have now is that sign up for that portal. This isn't our responsibility. We have a day job of making clean water, too much stuff on our plate. Sign up for that portal and be responsible for yourself. So right here, you see this little raindrop. It means this customer has signed up for the portal. So you as a utility, you can click on it and it's going to bring you to their view. So I know the gentleman on the phone asked before what the portal looks like. We have 2 options for the residents for the portal. One is the website view. This is exactly what you're seeing here. The other is a smartphone app. Both are included in our system, no additional charge whatsoever. If you guys want to charge them, that's up to you guys, but there's no additional charge. They get access day one to the website view of the portal. It's called Ion Water. It's through Badger Meter, it's not a third party, and you get access to the smartphone app. It's hard for me to demo the smartphone app, but if you have Android or iPhone, go to the App Store, put in Ion Water, and it's actually a demo site. You can mess around with it. Very similar in terms of the data that you're going to see, but it's a little cooler. They give you a calendar view. They give you good advice on how to conserve water. Hey, you put in some information like family of 4, they'll tell you what you should be using versus what you are using. No public information or anything like that, just like helpful tips, fix leaks, this is how much you'll save in your bill. But you can see it's presented to the customer in gallons. So total 1,087 gallons on this meter. The green arrow just means they used less water this week than last week. Good job. It's all about conservation. And you'll see the leak, 1.2 gallons per hour leak. Now, you can walk the customer through it on the phone with them. Click by click on that, they'll see exactly what they're seeing. They can also look at everything. If you want to look at the month or the week or the year, you can even do different overlays as a utility, like temperature and rain overlays, and show them, hey, you use so much water because it was much hotter. We just billed out quarterly for the summer. This is why it's such a high bill. Here was the heat. Here's how much water you used. And then tell them to click the edit leak alert.
Do they have like those any sort of benchmarks, like you said, like a family of 4, will that
You
show
would see
up?
that same screen.
You can do it.
That's actually the.
And on the app is much user
Kind of looks
friendly.
like her.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So here, just before you hang up with them, be like, hey, set an alarm, click on that set alert. You can do it for continuous flow. this really only comes to play for large customers or for residents who I'm gonna go to Florida for 4 weeks, but leave my water running a little bit. Don't notify me for a leak. Notify me if it goes above 5 gallons per minute, but that's it. So you can actually set it to that. Most do intermittent flow. Click on this, you make up the number. I want to be notified anything 2 gallons per hour or more for 24 hours straight. Send me, and they choose an email address, or you put your cell phone in there and it'll send you a text message. So I'm gonna X this out so I don't save it because it's a real customer. But this on this now moving forward, if they get that 1.2 gallon hour leak, they'll get a text right away. And they can hopefully fix it ASAP and not have that large bill. Whereas now, you know, you don't read every quarter, and that leak could have been for 2 weeks and be another quarter. They fixed it, but they forgot about it, 3 months later. This will notify them right away and notify you right away. And one thing I will show, because towns are trying to be more proactive, this analytics tab in the software. We kind of go over this during training, so what we recommend, especially for larger towns, but it organizes the leaks for you. So you'll have your small leaks, 286 of them, 61 medium, 5 large and 6 critical. Maybe if you are going to try to start calling customers, we tell you start with a critical and large. And you can do a quick export, do a quick email blast, if you have email addresses, and it'll send it right to all those customers with large critical you choose. We want to send to a notification, hey, you have a leak. Sign up for the portal. The portal, going back to the customer portal, is intentionally super simple. The most we can do, let me go back to it. Most you can do with the portal in terms of paying a bill is, do you guys do online bill payment now for the residents?
Residents, I don't know.
Um,
I don't think so.
No,
You can't pay online?
no.
Oh, perfect, don't worry about it. I was gonna say, if you did have online bill payment, I just want to go back to the portal. We can add a button up here where it's next to help. It'll say pay my bill and it'll take you right to where you.
I mean, I think we want to get there.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
this kind of upgrade, but yeah, we're not there yet.
Perfect. Well, we had a lot of questions about the portal. Hey, can you like see your bill in the portal? No, and it's intentional. Residents aren't waterworks people. They don't deal with big items. A lot of them don't know where the water meter is. You want to keep that as simple as possible. Let's see their usage, see their history, go back and see what's happening, see how long their kids are home from college and taking a shower for, and get leak notifications. That's the important stuff when it comes to a portal. It should eliminate any abatements, should eliminate, it won't eliminate complaints, but it should really cut down on customer service because they have it at their fingertips now. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that. Then in terms of your end, one thing I do want to point out is just the ability for customer service for your annual reports. That once you've built out the system, I mean, you can see your yearly usage, monthly usage, talk about conservation earlier. You set conservation efforts. Hey, we want to reduce usage by 10%, whatever it is. You can actually set that in here and it'll track it for you. Non-revenue water is huge on account for water. This has a system, in the system is called district metering area. You assign your source meters versus your demand, supply versus demand, and it'll monitor your on account of water for you. So it's a really powerful but simple to use system. I don't want to, I mean, I could talk about it for hours.
Search an account.
Can I do that? Type in the meter serial number?
Anybody
Chuck,
that's on the call have anything they want to ask real quick?
Jeff has.
I had a question kind of for you, Chuck, and both of them. Is there any point or ability of this software to tie into the production software? Do some systems do that? Could that be helpful, Chuck? I don't know.
I'm doubting that you do that unless we install stuff at the plant. Like, I think the question is, so like on the production side on our at our water.
It's
plant.
twofold. So they came out with that district meeting area feature, which is huge. Lexington hasn't set it up yet, so I'll show you what it looks like. I don't know if you can see that little graph in there, but
I don't even know if it's helpful. I just thought of
it is. And we're actually, ideally, you put a cell endpoint right onto the mag meters, on your source meters. But what we're learning is that a lot of mag meters don't have the encoder output or the output that we want. They don't have it available. So what we're looking at doing instead, and what we're doing it with other communities, is taking your SCADA data, which gives you your production data every day, setting up an API and bringing it into Beacon on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So that you can do this feature. So
I think it'd be more helpful if we had something in the system. Like, I don't need, like, I'm pretty, like, the SCADA is one thing at the plant.
Right.
And, if we can import that, that's fine, but I need like a meter that says, okay, going out to this point, how many, on the back end, what are the revenue meters saying about that meter? And that's my district meter area.
Absolutely.
And
And a lot of towns,
that would be, I think.
and they
that's-
break it down like that too.
Yeah.
You know, they'll do it as a whole, not exactly what you said, they'll put a meter in line, the coverage section,
Yeah.
and make their own district metering area.
Hey, this is a kind of a complicated question. You may not be able to give us an easy answer, but I'm wondering for a system of our size, roughly 2,000 residential meters and then a handful, low, say 100 commercial meters. What fraction of the cost is the AMI versus the 2,000 meters, 2,100 meters?
Well, so I think for this particular system, it's one and the same because you need the MXU and the meter no matter
Yeah.
what. So I guess the question might be more like on the software, do you get the software end when you sign up for 2,000 meters or?
Yeah,
How do you break out your costs, I guess?
so the cost of the system is unique to most AMI systems because it's a very low upfront expense. You purchase the software, which includes building the interface to Kuzi, implementing the software and training. And then from there, you move at your pace and pay for the meters and the radios. The only cost that's in addition to that is what we call a service unit fee. Usually we get that question a lot earlier in terms of, hey, cellular, am I getting a cell charge or am I getting charged for all this? There is a per unit fee is how it breaks down to. But it's super flexible. So just for discussion purposes, it's under $1 per endpoint per month. It's all encapsulating, so the system, that service unit fee covers absolutely everything that's part of our system. From the hosting fees, the cellular charges, the support to the updates, the upgrades, the portal, you name it, and I kind of listed them, it's all included in that one fee. So it's a locked fixed fee.
Yeah,
That's the only, you pay for as you go. So if you start with 500 meters this year, you're paying that service unit fee on 500 on a full.
Yeah, let me try this again. I'm looking for broad brush stuff here, and as I said, you may not be able to answer it. Let's assume that meters cost $500 all in, installed, ready to go, whatever model we choose. So 2,000 meters is about $1 million. How much more is the rest of the system, the AMI endpoints and the software and in order to get up and running?
Not much more at all. It's actually so that the software would be under $10,000. That's the only other component you're missing. Out of that
Mhm.
500, the 500 will include the meter, the endpoint, which is the AMI functionality. The only thing you're missing is that service unit cost that I'm talking about.
Gotcha. So there's literally no other hardware in this system.
No other hardware,
Right.
no infrastructure.
Fabulous.
It's
Okay,
just the
got it.
software is the system.
That's where we lead on traditional fixed network, where you'd have to go and hang all the collectors day one. Say you planned on just doing one corner of town this year, replacing the meters, you would still have to hang your whole network before you could start one corner of town. With cellular, you don't have to hang up anything. You can start mix and match. You can do this side of town, that side of town.
But
So
you
is
got
there
a
any
dollar.
advan- is there any advantage then to do the entire town at once, or is that a moot point?
Say that again, Jeff?
Is there any advantage to do the whole town at once, or is that a moot point?
Just the benefits from like unaccounted for water and that sort of thing.
Yeah, being all in one system is ideal.
Hear complaints from residents, they have the portal, I don't, that sort of thing, but
Yeah, I understand that. I just meant as far as cost and installation.
no, in terms of cost, I mean, a little bit, you'll get a savings, for bulk per single, you'll get a little savings, and obviously what we've seen the past few years, every year costs are going up of goods and materials.
And so right now, the annual cost is probably for a town of our size with 2,000 meters is $25,000 a year.
It would be under that. It would
Take
be,
your
I think,
kids
under
out.
$100.
It's not hard. I mean, it's 2,000 meters, $1 a month.
Go with that, it'll be under that, but go with that, so
Okay.
that's, and we don't wanna shy away from the service unit fee, or like, try to
Right.
sneak it under there.
Yeah, we're always. up for that.
That's how it breaks down, but it covers absolutely everything in your system, and it's a fixed fee. So there's no, 5 years from now, you're locked in, we're gonna be like, all right, we're gonna raise that fee to this, or you're gonna have to pay for this, that's encapsulated absolutely everything.
And so you would train somebody in here to be able to work with this software, at least understand how to get around.
Ongoing training, so we offer 100% training throughout the life of the system inside the office, so for the software and for the field. So if you hire a new meter technician, they need some help in the field, they'll call me, I'll go out with them for the day, help them, show them how to properly do an install. Ryan or one of the other in-house people will come in to help the billing clerks or anybody as many times as you need. There's
But
no-
it comes with a deal. There's
Comes
not
with
an
this
extra-
deal.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
no additional cost for
I mean,
that.
what I can see is there's so much stuff that you can do here.
Yeah,
The onus is on us. We got somebody that all of a sudden has got on average several hours every month to figure out, okay, what am I gonna do now?
Right.
Yeah.
No, and we really, we try to, we help, there's no like additional fees, but we help spread the word for the portal. Make a customized video for the town to get the word out there. We want people using it. You guys want people using the portal. It's a nice feature that you're offering. And training is important. You have to be able to use it. It's easy to use, but you want training, ongoing training is important.
So is the zero infrastructure,
You're not gonna get the benefit,
No.
that's-
right.
and therefore the
It's very
residents,
basic,
the
but-
residents aren't gonna get the
Correct.
benefit.
But you'll.
is
you'll
the,
get
is the zero infrastructure M2M network approach an industry standard, or is Badger unique in that?
The Azure was the first, but every manufacturer right now is trying to come out with their own. IoT driven network. A lot are going the M2M route. Some are going what's called the LoRa route, where there's supposed to be existing infrastructure that hasn't really taken off, but more are coming out with it.
With traditional fixed, you have a system that you have to maintain, so if they typically give a 1-year warranty on the collectors, and that's pretty standard across the industry. So once that 1-year warranty is up, if it gets hit by lightning, it could cost as much as, $10,000 to $30,000 for a new collector, depending on whose brand, whose you choose. Then you have to hire a climber or have somebody in-house that's certified to go up on a pole and replace it. So those are costs that can come up throughout the life of the system that are unexpected. With our system, there's no unexpected costs. Everything is in that. You don't pay for the cell phone company to come out and fix the collector or the tower, or all that stuff's covered.
Gotcha. Well, I don't know about other people, but I'm much more informed than I was 70 minutes ago. But I need to kind of skedaddle soon. So can we do a last call on questions?
Could you replace the battery in that thing? If you wanted to send 10 times a day, could you, is it easy and cheap to replace the battery or no?
No, it's not replaceable. It's all potted in there for submersible purposes and keep that failure rate low. It does come with a plug and play, so you can replace the line point. That's you don't have to cut and splice, just unplug it, plug a new one in, but not the battery itself.
Yeah. And one quick thing on that is actually more than once a year, we release an endpoint and it has something else, or there's a new meter that has more technology coming out of it. And if you're just trying to refurbish an old device, you're gonna be missing out on some of the new technologies as opposed to replacing it. So it's better to look at the future, because there's gonna be better stuff in 10 years. It's gonna overwhelm us how much technology we're gonna have to.
We're overwhelmed now.
The good part about a replacement cost for this.
For just the endpoint, it's
Yeah.
same as the MXU, it's like $120, whatever it is.
It can be overwhelming. It's very complex. The system itself, the software is super user friendly. I've had my 9-year-old daughter go on and search an account. It's very. Yeah. It's very easy to pull off.
That's it.
But I should get my mom. But it does so much. So as you learn it and as you're using the basic stuff and time goes on, you can incorporate some of the extra features in it as you feel comfortable to use. It's not overwhelming.
My last question is whether you guys could accommodate a pilot test this year of, a dozen or 2 dozen installations.
That was my next pitch, put the salesman hat on for a second. But that is, in 2014, it was such a new technology, new to the industry. They had this awesome starter kit. They packaged the deal, it came with 10 meters, 10 radios for a very affordable price, but it got you the full software and the portal. And then 4 months later, 6 months later, whatever it is, you're like, hey, we want to go full blown. At that point, you just pay for the interface. You already have everything you need. So we still offer that pilot today. We'd love to send you, I think I sent it once before, but we'll send it again. It'll be the same price. But yeah, that's, to us, it's a great way to kind of get your feet wet. Put it in either, if you guys live in town, put it in some of your houses. You can try out the portal live. Put it in a really hard to cellular area to reach.
So what's the order of magnitude of the cost of the starter kit? 4 digits, 5 digits, 6 digits?
I think I quoted like 2,000, could be mistaken, but I don't want to.
I don't know that we got to a quote, but if that's.
We might not actually send the price, 2,000, $2,500
All right.
tops.
but for like a dozen meters or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
It kind of
Usually
covers the cost of
cost-
the meter,
cost
the
of
meter
meters.
into it,
That's
yeah.
pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send that proposal over.
Thank you.
That's meters and the MXUs.
Yeah, it was,
In the software.
Is it all like the mutating or is it? the-
might be able to throw a couple of socks in,
I might add on to it.
might be able to throw a couple in. Or add on
You
to
can mix
it
and match if you
and,
want.
and use one radio with an existing meter if that interests you too, just see how
Oh,
it takes in the census meter or whatever you have out there.
I have another quick question. What if people have multiple meters? How does the software work with that? Is there some,
You kind of dictate that to us, whether how you currently do it, if you have like an irrigation meter, a deduct
Yeah.
meter and a main meter, is it under one account or is it separate accounts? I think they're-
right,
One account.
multiple meters under one account?
You set up the same way,
Pretty simple.
different serial numbers on the meters, different serial numbers and the endpoints, but it'll be under their one account card.
Yeah.
They'll be able to monitor both of them
So you
through
can
the
see the
customer
split. Yeah,
portal.
You see the split, so that's fine.
And for the portal, for landlords, they have multiple properties, meters throughout town, they can actually have one login, but be able to toggle between the different properties that they own.
Great, thanks.
Good question.
Okay, folks. If there are no further questions, we're gonna say a hearty thank you and recess until Wednesday night.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
very
Thank you,
much.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Styles guys.
Yep. Good advertising.
Got kind of